Welcome everybody to episode 88 of Dork Tunes. So we've been about a month since you've last seen us. Last chatted with the lovely Alex. So yes, this time I'm speaking with the ever lovely. I'm going to let them introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Rob Kovacs. Thanks for having me on your show. I'm a composer, singer-songwriter, pianist, producer. I've composed the soundtrack for the VR game Straylight, and I have a side project, which is a pretty big project to call it a side project, but it's called 88-bit, and I arrange mostly NES music, note for note for piano, but I also arrange other video game music as well, and that's been a big part of my career. That's a little bit about who I am.
Fabulous. So Rob, I'm going to get onto various different things later on, but what I'd like to start with is how did you get to where you are now? Like a lot of people, a lot of composers do it very, very differently. Everybody's different. So one might just go to a lot of events and get to know people. Another person just went the kind of classical way and went to university and trained. And how did that happen for you?
Man, I could probably answer that. I could probably take the whole 30 minutes to answer that question. Uh, it's been a wild, winding path of so many different, trying so many different things, and but I've always known for since I wrote my first song when I was like 10. I wrote a little piano song. I was like, all right, this is what I want to do. I want to write music. So that's kind of always guided me. And anytime I got away from focusing on music, I would become very unhappy and depressed and realize like, yeah, if I can't, if I'm not doing music, I can't, something is missing. So that's always guided me. I had music lessons as a kid, piano lessons as a kid. My parents, thankfully gave me lessons. And then I wanted to go to, I wanted to be in bands. I wanted to like write music and perform because that's what I ultimately love doing the most writing music and performing equally. So, some composers just like to write. I love performing. It's one of the most exhilarating things in the
Yeah.
world. So I went to college for music, studied music theory, not because I wanted to be a theorist, but like it kind of gave me a kind of a catch-all, allowed me to focus on composition and performance. And I did like theory.
Mhm.
So it was great. I went to Baltimore Wallace College. It was a great opportunity. Learned a lot about minimalism and contemporary music. And then after that, focused on my band Return of Simple, and eventually moved to New York City and was a musician out there and
Oh,
gigged
wow.
around. And I'm trying to condense as much as I can, and then moved back, uh, focused on making, writing music and playing out and making an album. And then the pandemic hit, and all my gig work stopped. But it allowed me to kind of focus more on recording and composing, and uh, eventually finished the game Straylight, which I wrote the soundtrack for, which I mentioned earlier. And that came out just a few years ago. Oh, no, it came out this year. We worked on it for like 5 years, but it finally came out this year. And then streaming online was a big, since the pandemic. I've been streaming on Twitch for 3 years now. And I'm waiting on my partner application to come back.
So I
Uh,
saw.
yeah, that's a big
Exciting.
deal. And then I started like the video game music project on the side. That's been about 5 years now too. And all of everything I've done, even like just lounge music gigs or playing in musicals or music directing or playing in other bands, all of that has like fed and led to where I'm at today.
Fabulous. So you mentioned Straylight. Straylight came out obviously this year. You've been involved with that for what, 5 years, you said.
Yeah,
It looks
yeah.
really, really good. Although I think
Thank
it
you.
might make me feel a bit.
Actually, no, that's what everyone. Yeah, because if you tried VR before?
Oh yeah, I had the original PSVR and I've just bought the PSVR 2 and I'm playing
Oh,
Call
nice.
of Mountain, which is it makes me sweat,
Which
because
game? Which game?
Call of the Mountains, the Horizon
Oh,
Zero Dawn one, and
oh,
it's a
oh,
lot of
okay.
climbing,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah. In VR, that is going to make you sick. That is going
Yeah.
to make you
It doesn't
kind of.
actually make me sick, it just makes me sweat a lot. I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to do that. And I've actually not played it for like a couple of days because I'm like, I know what I have to do and I don't want to do it, because I have to jump
Yeah,
across this ravine and then, climb up this thing with my things. And it's like, oh,
yeah. So The Straylight game, we specifically wanted to build a movement game in VR that doesn't make people sick.
Yeah,
And when you see the videos, you're like, people are flying around. You're like, of
yeah,
course
yeah,
that's
yeah,
gonna make me sick.
yeah,
Um, but we did a lot of things to eliminate the motion
yeah.
sickness, which is really caused from a disconnect from your what your brain sees and what your body
Mm.
feels. So
But
when
it's
we
really
removed all
strange.
the walls and the
Yeah,
ceilings and the floors,
yeah,
and you're just kind of like floating in space, it works. The brain kind of
yeah.
accepts that situation. Plus, you can only move when you like move your hand, so you are in
Mhm.
control of your movement of all times. That's another thing that the brain doesn't like. If you all of a sudden in VR, if you're like moved or like the floor drops, immediate like
Yeah.
immediately makes me sick. So we did a lot of things to try to make a game where you can experience movement in VR and be comfortable.
Mm. It's really strange because back in the PSVR 1 days, I used to play quite a lot of Wipeout in VR. Never affected me.
Oh,
But like
wow.
I'd sit my friends down and they'd be like 60 seconds. They're like, nope,
Yeah.
absolutely no. No.
Yeah.
Weird.
Well, you must have your VR legs then. Well, I'm gonna give you a after this call. I'm gonna give you a key for Straylight so you can try it out.
So you said you've been involved with Australia for 5 years. How did that actually all start for you?
That's an interesting question too. There's five of us who worked on the game, two programmers, and then the other three of us worked on movies for a while. We did for 10 years. We did a bunch of like 48-hour film projects where you have 48 hours to
Yeah,
write, direct, shoot, and edit a film.
my
And
friends do that every year.
yeah, I really kind of cut my teeth on that, learning to score films fast
Mhm.
and getting over perfectionism because you have no time to look over every note and make sure everything is perfect. You just have to get something that fits the mood and adds to the film. So the main cinematographer for that group met these two programmers, and they asked him if he would do graphics for their game. We were doing a game jam, which is the same concept for the global game jam. Get 48 hours to make a game prototype, and then he invited me to do the music, and he invited the director to be a part of the game as well, and he's gonna help direct. And then we made this prototype of this movement thing, and I wrote a song. It would end up being the Straylight theme. Wrote that in 2 days. Recorded it using the Prophet 5 back here
Mhm.
because we wanted like an 80s theme. The global game jam has like different targets that you can like just try to hit for fun. One of them was 80s theme, so I was like, well, I've got this quintessential 80s synth, which I've never really used too much, and let's try it out. So in 2 days came up with the Straylight theme based on the concept of the game and
Yeah.
of like floating and experiencing flight in
Mhm.
VR for the first time. So that all led to the song, and then we were like, you know what? Let's make this a real thing. So
Mhm.
in our spare time, we
Mhm.
it took 5 years, and then pandemic kind of slowed things down. But in our spare time, we made this game. We've won awards for it and everything,
Mhm.
and people really do love it.
Yeah, I mean, I have to admit, I've been listening to the soundtrack and it slaps, quite frankly.
Oh man, that makes me so glad.
There's particular track I was like, I was listening to it earlier on, and I did as you said, headphones, listen to the soundtrack, so I'm popping around the house. Void Compass,
Oh yeah,
that I would dance to in a nightclub.
I love
So,
that.
so good.
I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah, that's the most upbeat, fast one, and
Mm,
it's what level 5 in the game where we're trying to like encourage the player to go fast. Like there's a lot of like big leaps in that level, and you have to like go fast to
yeah,
get through that level. So hype song, and yeah, that's I'm glad that you enjoy it. I feel very proud about the whole album. I
yeah,
wrote the soundtrack with the idea that like I want this to be an album that you can just listen to and enjoy. And for me, it's the best thing that I've ever made.
yeah. And I've just seen the soundtrack, it's like 43 minutes long. That's perfect for
Yeah.
vinyl. Yeah.
Oh, I have the vinyl. Literally just got the vinyl sent like 2 days ago.
Really,
Yeah.
I genuinely didn't know it was a thing. And I collect VGM vinyl. I am obsessed. You know,
Oh, oh,
um,
great.
oh
Yeah,
man, honestly, I
we
just
had a
got
oh, go ahead.
the God of War Ragnarok vinyl that arrived
Oh,
last week. You
yeah.
know,
Bear
so
McCreary. Incredible
bam,
soundtrack.
a lot of
How
vinyl.
many vinyls is that? Is that like four?
It's three,
Three. Okay.
and
Yeah.
I got the Elden Ring one last year. That's like 10.
Mm,
It's
wow.
really, really good.
Jesus.
And I've got the Akami one, the really famous Akami one. I've got
Oh,
that.
nice.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
but
the good
I'd
ones.
never sell it, even though I could sell it for a lot. I would never, you know.
Yeah. You want to have hold
Uh,
on to that one.
yeah, and I've got some nice ones. I've got like David Howson sent me Thomas Was Alone, sign, which is lovely.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
and my friends, I don't know whether you've ever heard of them, the Pickford brothers.
What was the name?
Pickford brothers.
I don't think so.
They made a game called Plock back in the day.
Oh, they did Pluck. Okay. Right
Yeah, yeah,
on.
yeah, that's them. They're really good friends of mine, and they sent me a
Oh,
signed
wow.
vinyl of that as well.
Oh, I
So
love that.
got a few, and signed one from Austin Winter as well, because he's a good friend.
Oh, yeah. He's great.
Yeah,
He's so brilliant.
but I think and you will know that from what you've done. I'm assuming that being within the kind of video game community, that it kind of provides you with things that you never thought would ever happen. That would I be correct in saying that?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
experiences? Mhm.
Yeah. And yeah, 100%. The VGM community is like, there's the video game cover community, which I've
Mhm.
been a part of through my 88-bit. And then there's the composers community, which is so welcoming. Both
Yeah.
groups, so
Mhm.
welcoming, so positive, just full of great people.
Yeah, yeah.
The and a lot of people share the same sentiment, but it's like the best music community that I've ever been a part of. And I've been a part of like rock bands and jazz and classical music and musical theater,
Yeah.
and like there's a lot more competition there and trying to be better than everyone, but
Mhm.
um, there's really none of that in the VGM scene, both from
Yeah.
the musicians and the people who just want to hear it. Like
It's
they just
it's
love
a
that
really
people are
lovely,
making.
yeah, it's a lovely kind of group to be within. I know, like for example, I'm on a Discord for video game vinyl collectors, and everybody
Oh,
is so lovely. We will help each other out as much as we can. I mentioned just in passing that I really liked the Firewatch soundtrack, and I missed that on a repress a few years ago, and I'm really annoyed about that because I loved the game. Have you ever played it?
no, I don't think
You should.
so.
Honestly, it is phenomenal. And Chris Reno does the soundtrack, and it is beautiful. It's
Wow,
really, really good.
I'll have to
Honestly,
check that out. I always love
it's up
hearing new
there
video
with
game
like
soundtracks.
the Outer Wilds,
Hmm.
which I was so annoyed again because I missed the second
Oh
repress
no,
of that earlier this year. But they've said it's going to be repressed with larger volume at the end of this year. So
that's how I hope so. Yeah, Andy
yeah,
Pralo's great.
that's the only thing about that community is that if something is announced, you need to buy it straight away because otherwise you will not get it.
Yeah, we for Straylight we did a Bandcamp pre-order
Hmm.
through their site, and so that went great. We funded the album through that, and we will have very soon. We pressed extra so that we can be able to sell some. We'll be getting those like probably this week. So I'll
Definitely
let you
link me
know.
with that.
I'll let you know. Yeah.
But it must be nice for you, like as a composer, to see the game out and being appreciated as it has been, and also being able to produce something like the vinyl, to have it physically in your hands and go, I did that.
100%. And having something physical makes it feel real
Mm,
and more real. Like I've been a
mhm.
part of a lot of other people's records, and sometimes they're digital only, and then, like you kind of you forget that you worked on that or like that it even exists. But at least when I have like even just a CD or tape or whatever,
Yeah,
uh, it gives it a realness, and
yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
and they look nice. They looks beautiful and everything.
And how many of the pressed?
I think we had uh, I think we had 200 pressed total. I don't exactly remember. And we so over 100. I think we sold over 120 for the initial batch. And I think we
Yeah.
had about 200,
Oh
somewhere
wow.
around there.
Yeah. Oh, that's really good. And
Yeah.
I know a lot of other composers who will work on a project, and then once that's released and it's out in the wild, so to say, they kind of go, right, okay, that's in a box, not to be seen again. Will not listen. Do not listen. You know, would you be the same or?
No, no, I'm not the same.
No.
I write music that I want to hear
Yeah.
that doesn't exist yet.
Mhm.
And I love the Straylight music. Like I had so much fun writing it and coming
Mhm.
up with like new sounds and new tones for me, and like I like challenging myself with new chord progressions and melodies and trying to push my own musical boundaries. Um, so I listen to it a lot every once in a while. I listen on the plane a lot. It's a great plane album. It kind of just calms me down, and
Yeah,
yeah. So no, I enjoyed that record probably
yeah.
more than anything. Yeah, more than anything else I've ever done.
It's funny you say about calming you down because it's definitely something that happens with me with video game music. There are certain soundtracks that I can put on after a really horrible day or horrible, weekend or something's happened, and I just headphones on, that soundtrack on, and I'm in my happy place. You know,
Yeah.
there was one soundtrack that I had for 6 years. It was my top played album on Spotify every year. When Spotify Wrapped comes up, I was like, yeah, there it is again.
Which one? Which one was that?
Um, it's probably my favorite soundtrack of all time, which is the soundtrack to Everybody's Gone to the Rapture by Jessica Curry.
Oh
It
wow,
is,
I don't think I know that one.
oh,
You gotta send me
super.
these
Yeah,
soundtracks so
yeah,
I can check them
definitely.
out.
Um, it's basically, I don't know whether you know the story.
I don't.
It was released years ago, 2016, 2015, on PlayStation. And it's basically the story of you arrive at a village and everybody's disappeared. So you have
Hmm.
to figure out how and why. And the story is told kind of backwards almost, or in different bits. And the way you find out the story is you are walking through the village and then you will come across like almost like a golden kind of haze, and they turn into people and they talk, and through their conversations they're putting things together. But you'll see things at the beginning that actually belong at the end, and it's really clever. There's one particular scene that will always stay with me, which I will spoil for you. Actually, there's a few, um, and I genuinely, it's the first game that I sat and I finished, and I sobbed for about 20 minutes at the end.
Oh my goodness! Wow,
It's beautiful, and
that's
there's a couple of
powerful.
pieces of music that absolutely beautiful, and then when they're played in the game, it's just another level. Um, but you will cry.
Wow, I love that.
Yeah,
I have to check it out. Is it on PS5 by chance?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
it is. Okay, I can
yeah.
get it.
You can get it on PSN, so highly recommended. But yeah, I totally get that with the kind of relaxation bit. We all do it. So,
Yeah,
next question for you is about your other side project, 88-bit. Tell me a little bit
yeah.
about how did that happen? How did that start?
I think I came up with the idea around 2015 to um, take the NES music and arrange it for piano very accurately to for a couple of reasons. There's a lot of great music on NES games that is
Mhm. Oh yeah.
fairly unknown
Mm.
unless you're scouring YouTube and you really want to dig into NES music or you played the games.
Yeah.
There's so much great music written in these games that are really buried in the game unless you're good at it and you can get to the end. And Adventures of Lolo is a great example. It has the same song for 50 levels, and then if you beat it, which is very difficult, especially for like kids, like 10-year-old, like
Yeah.
this game is so it's such a tough puzzle game. Um, if you beat it, you get this awesome like Latin jazz tune at the end of this game that just rewards you with this little scene and this song. That's it. But you only get to hear that song if you beat the whole game. So I wanted to shed light on some lesser known video games music and just discover more video game music on my own because in that era, NES music is really important in music history because it's some of the earliest mass consumed computer music. And now
Hmm.
we take that for granted, like everything is MIDI or assisted with MIDI. But back then, like having a computer play music was revolutionary. And as a composer, you don't have to worry about playability or how difficult it is or instrument range. It could do anything almost as fast as you beyond your imagination. It does have its limitations, though. You can, like for the Nintendo, you could essentially only play three notes
Yeah.
at a time. three voices for three pitched voices. So they would cram a ton of notes in there, and you just get this music that is unlike anything else.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, though, if unless they grew up with the game, like my parents, for example, if they hear those tones, they're kind of going to be turned off, and it's just like that's just like toy music. But when you hear it on a real instrument, and when you hear it on a piano, you get more of a dynamic variation, and there's more life to it, and it allows more people to appreciate the music than otherwise would.
Definitely. And it blows my mind with the NES, with as you mentioned about the limitations, how they did some of those music. It just,
What'd you say? How did it? What?
like, it amazes me how they managed to get so much out of the machine music wise
Oh, right.
with such limitations.
Yeah, it is really powerful. I mean, it is a computer. So they have it. The NES had 5 channels. One's for noise. One was for like crude short samples, which really wasn't used too much. And the other 3 were like 2 square waves and a triangle wave. And you could cram tons of notes in like one voice. Like you could just go. You can't do this. You can't do that on a voice, but you can go. Cycle through all the notes in one channel. Like a human could never, like a voice human could never do that. But this computer can. So it's just, yeah, it's a lot of power, and it gave the composers a lot of power within the limitations. And guys like David Wise and Takashi Tateishi and Brad Fuller all use this stuff to great effect.
And what would be your personal favorite? Can be, the mass one, or it can be, a lesser known one. What would be your kind of one that you go, yeah, I love that? I know, hard question.
Two are nostalgic based, and they're so different, and I love them both. But Mega Man 2, I grew up with that game, and every level, every character has its own theme, and they're just so energetic and so unique and like kind of rock based. I love the Mega Man 2. It's composed by Takashi Tateishi, and I also love Marble Madness, which is such a bizarre soundtrack. It's so abstract, written in 1984, originally for an arcade game by Brad Fuller and Hal Cannon, and it's just wild. Like there's no other soundtrack quite like it, and there was no precedent yet about what video game music should sound like. So they're just like, let's do whatever. And for that one, they had a new chip. They had the basically a Yamaha DX7 chip in the arcade game. So they were just like, let's experiment and do all this cool stuff. And so those are two of my favorite soundtracks.
I think one of my favorites is, I know it's so cheesy, but I love it. It is the moon in DuckTales.
It's awesome, and it's in 15/8.
Yeah, that gives me goosebumps. I love it.
Yeah, it's a brilliant composition. This high arpeggio thing in 15/8 to start, and then this low melody comes in, and then it just starts jamming, and then we get to 4/4. But yeah, that's a great piece. That's a great soundtrack.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Something you mentioned earlier on was when the pandemic appeared. Lucky us. All your kind of live music stuff cancelled, well, stopped. And then you said you moved on to Twitch.
Yeah.
And now you're waiting for your affiliate?
No, partner.
Partner.
Yeah, sorry. Partner. Partner's hard to get, but we're there. Just kind of now. We've been waiting for like 4 weeks to get a response. This is my second time applying, but yeah, Twitch has been life changing. And everything I mentioned earlier has like Twitch allows me to take all the different experiences I've had musically and life wise and like present it in one place and find an audience that wants to hear it, wants to see it. All my music, all my video game music stuff, all my original music stuff. Like I love rock music and pop, indie rock, and I get to play all that there as well. I get to sing and play piano and play different keyboards and connect with people and chat and grow an audience that wants to hear my stuff. So it's been absolutely incredible. I've been doing it for 3 years. When the pandemic started, I lost everything. And then I was like, well, I'll stream on Facebook because that's where my biggest following was.
Okay.
And I did that for about 3 or 4 months. And then, Facebook is really a terrible streaming platform. It's a terrible platform for streaming, both as a viewer and a streamer. And so eventually I was like, okay, I'm going to go back over to Twitch. And then it's just kind of snowballed from there. yeah, I've just met my people. I feel like I've met so many people like me and
Yeah.
so supportive of me, so
Mm.
encouraging. I've never felt more supported in my career than ever than on Twitch.
And it's a nice feeling.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's really amazing. The whole past 5 years have been great. Twitch,
Yeah.
the VGM community
Mhm.
has been amazing.
And this, as you said, you're doing your little thing, and there's lots of other people doing their little thing, including people like Smooth Groove, who does a completely different tune. He uses vocals, and wow, he just blows me away the stuff that he does. He's so intelligent, he's so smart with it. It's just mind blowing.
Yeah, yeah, he is next level. He was one of like pioneers of video game music covers and doing it in such a unique way, a
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
cappella, so in tune.
Mhm.
Um, big beard and hair, and like he looks, fascinating and very
Big
appealing.
beard and hair.
Yeah, well, I got the beard at least. So, but yeah, he's inspiring guy. Him, Insane in the Rain too. Insane in the Rain music, another crazy talented video game music
Yeah,
arranger and now composer.
it's crazy, isn't it?
Um,
It
yeah.
and as we mentioned earlier on, being involved in the community is really kind of it's what I know I love to do and be around, but I never thought that the stuff that it would provide me or enable me to do, I like got invited down to Air Studios in London to see Ori and the Will o' the Wisps being born, as we say.
What?
And then yeah, it
You
was
got to see it being
absolutely
born? Oh my
yeah,
goodness.
the soundtrack with
Was
Gareth
Gareth
Cole.
there too?
Yeah,
Was
yeah,
Gareth there?
yeah, yeah.
Oh wow. That's great.
It's on my Instagram.
Oh, I need to check that out.
Yeah, you just
I'll
click
put
down a
that.
bit.
I think I just followed you. Oh no, I just followed you today on Instagram,
Yeah,
so I'll look for that.
yeah, yeah. It's honestly, it's there's even some videos, and yeah, I've done that, and then like I was paid music consultant for a game that released 3 years ago, on Switch. So yeah,
Oh, what
cool.
game?
The Magnificent Truffle Pigs.
Magnificent Truffle Bits.
Pigs. Yes, it's
Pigs.
yes,
Oh,
it's very very unique and very. It's only a very short game. It's a couple of hours long, maybe 2 3 hours. And it was
I
made
like
with a
that.
lot of love by a friend, and friend Andrew, who used to be part of the Chinese Room, which made Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. So
Oh
yeah,
wow. Wow.
yeah.
Well, congrats on being a part of that game. Are you working on anything else now? Are you involved in
Uh,
anything else?
no, just this at the moment. Just this at the moment. But if anybody needs a music consultant, I'm right here.
There he is.
I'm
Contact
apparently
him.
very good at what I do. But yeah, because it led to Kevin Penkin did the score for it,
Hmm. Oh wow.
and Kevin's amazing. I was really lucky enough to meet him and Lena Rain at Eurogamer a few years ago.
Oh wow.
Um, yeah, I gave actually Kevin got my spare ticket.
Ha, nice.
Yeah,
Well, that's another soundtrack. That's the third soundtrack now I need to check out.
yeah. And Kevin's stuff is phenomenal. Like his soundtrack for Florence is just so beautiful, and the
Hmm.
vinyl is also gorgeous as well.
Hmm.
Yeah. So really quickly, we're running out of time, unfortunately. Um, what's next? Or can you talk?
Yeah. Um, what is next? A lot of little projects, like one-off collaborations with other artists. I have another one coming up with Icarus Kid and Theology. Um, and I have no games that I'm working on currently. I'm heavily focused on Twitch right now and performing live. I have a bunch of albums. I have a couple more conventions coming up, Cleveland Gaming Classic and Long Island Retro Gaming next couple weeks. That'll be a lot of fun. Um, and albums of my own that I need to record. There's a bunch of 88-bit stuff that I have arranged, and I now just need to buckle down and
Do
record.
it.
Yeah,
Very
so that's
exciting.
pretty much it. Yeah, yeah. Thank
Well,
you.
that's good. And it's nice to be able to finally be able to do things in person now.
Yeah, it's
Mm.
yeah. I remember the first big concert I did after the pandemic was PAX West 2021
Okay.
September, and it was just after having not played in like 2 years for a real audience, just online, like to
Yeah,
receive that feedback from a live audience, like
yeah,
clapping and cheering, like it was almost overwhelming.
yeah. Like last week was 2 years previous anniversary of the first time I went out, kind of post lockdown. Went to a gig in Manchester, and I remember when we walked in, none of us or nobody had mask on. And there was a few minutes we were all stood around, kind of looking at each other, kind of going, "This is a bit weird. Not quite comfortable with this." But then we just got into it and vibed with it. And we had the best night in the world. The next day, I was aching, and I didn't really drink that night. I was aching because I spent 8 solid hours dancing. It
Oh
was
my
phenomenal.
gosh, that's great.
That
I
was
love that.
amazing. It was really nice to be able to look back at the videos last week. I was like, "Oh, remember that bit? I remember that bit." And it's just, I'll tell you the story afterwards because it's not for here. Um, and I'll
Okay,
also tell you a
okay.
little secret as well, but that's for afterwards. But yes, just want to say a massive thank you for being part of the show. It's been a real pleasure to speak with you, and good luck with everything.
Well, likewise, thank you so much for having me, and yeah, good luck with your podcast, and I hope you get another uh, music supervising gig soon.
Thank you. And thanks, everybody. We'll see you soon.